When Dean returned per angel wings the next morning, he was met by the expected view of a reserved Micah in front of Johnson's door. "Where's our favorite servant of God, dear brother?" "Inside, trying to come out of his self-induced stupor," Micah answered without any warmth. "Well, time to wake him up then." With visible joy, Marilyse entered. "I would wish you a good morning, but I doubt you have any use for such talk." Dean tried to ignite a conversation, but the angel remained silent. "You are a hard nut. Your pride might one day be your downfall." Remaining silent, Michael kept staring into the distance. "I thought you learned something from your brother." "I did," he finally responded. "I just don't know how to reach through. He has changed a lot. He has become human." Dean smiled at the angel, whose eyes showed hopelessness all of a sudden. "Humans are flawed. And you are not?" "I guess you're right," Michael trailed off. "You are human. What should I do? Have a laugh from time to time? Show your brother that you are capable of feeling. I think he hates nothing more but self-righteous, all-knowing dictators." The Englishman was bracing himself for another angelic outburst after his criticism, yet nothing but a thoughtful nod came from Micah. Not long after they both had fallen silent again, Marilyse came outside, dragging our still half-asleep Johnson along. "We are ready to go. Come on, old boy, time to show us the way." "I'm no dog," Johnson growled in a grumpy tone. "You certainly live like one." Johnson led them back into the central city of Rome, and through many narrow alleys, with the grey light of dawn making their way gloomier than it should have been. Entering a building with the same sinister atmosphere, Johnson motioned them to follow. Inside, icy silence ruled, disturbed only by the ticking of a clock. Everywhere antique objects stood and laid: clocks, canes, paintings, books, and decorative objects. Johnson went straight ahead and into the back room of the shop, giving the merchant some strange sign with his fingers. "Don't you think this is too easy?" Dean whispered next to Marilyse. "There's no resistance, no obstacles, nothing. Johnson is excommunicated. Shouldn't the members of the cult be hesitant to let him through?" "We are going to be fine, mate. Am I right, brother?" "You are confident as always," Michael remarked with a smile, "but I think we should be fine." Despite feeling uneasy, Dean followed the two entities. Johnson was already waiting in the other room in front of a large mirror reaching from the ceiling to the floor. Stepping through the glassy surface, Johnson disappeared. "No wonder you found nothing so far," Marilyse said, impressed. "Using mirrors as doorways to another reality. They are skilled, I give them that." "I haven't encountered that since ancient Egypt," Michael added, reaching with his hand through the mirror. His features grew suddenly grim. "Those are powerful enemies we face here, Lucifer." "Are you getting cold feet?" "No, but we shouldn't underestimate them." "No one ever said anything about underestimating them." Still speaking, the devil disappeared through the mirror. "Lucifer!" Michael hissed, and Dean believed to hear a hint of fear. Using a summoning circle he himself had created, Dean summoned a fire elemental in the form of a tiger. Having their choice taken from them, he and Michael followed as well. A dark room greeted them on the other side. Johnson was nowhere to be seen, increasing the man's uneasiness even more. The flaming creature next to the occultist made him feel slightly safer with its warming light. "That bloody fool abandoned us," Marilyse remarked with his eyes glowing golden in the darkness. They followed the hallway, which was equally dark and uninviting. The whole structure made the impression of a dungeon, with the anthracite walls and the occasional patches of moss. A heavy atmosphere weighed on Dean's mind, as if it meant to crush him. He wasn't sure if his two companions felt the same, but their expressions had turned especially grim since they had entered this strange complex. They found several rooms along the hallway containing supplies like candles, ink, and ropes. Others contained beds and tables as if people lived here. All the time, Dean's tiger trotted next to him, yet he kept shivering. Something was very wrong. He just didn't know what it was. At the far end of the corridor was another room. Upon entering, Dean found himself in an enormous and circular hall with a ceiling like a dome. By the time he perceived the faint smell of blood, his stomach was already sinking. In the center of the room, amidst the darkness, lying on some kind of altar, Dean saw the feathered form of a great bird. Chains bolted to the stone table still bound the motionless creature as if it would try to escape any moment. Sending his tiger over for light, he got a closer look. It must have been an angel, but it was not human at all. Dozens of eyes stared into nothingness, covering 3 or even 4 sets of wings. The large eye in the middle of its body stared blankly towards the ceiling like the others. A deep cut marked it, tainting the sky-blue eye with a tint of red. Despite the strangeness in appearance, Dean felt deep sadness. Even in death, the creature was utterly beautiful, divine. Seeing the blood beneath the unmoving body was like driving a dagger into his own heart. "It's a seraphim," Merlice said next to him in a solemn voice. "They are the highest in the hierarchy, most pure and closest to God." Why would someone kill such a being? Dean tried to prevent tears from forming as the sadness took root in his soul. He just couldn't look away. "This is blasphemy," Michael voiced his anger, causing Dean to turn around to the angel. Remembering Merlice's anger when he'd once fought the vampires to save him, the Englishman could now see the similarities in character. Only the angel's own discipline seemed to be able to prevent blind wrath from seizing him. "What did they do to it?" Dean managed to ask, while rage and grief battled inside of him as well. Michael, however, didn't respond, seemingly caught up in a fight for reasonable control of his own. Merlice was able to keep emotional distance with effort, tracing the deep wounds with his slightly trembling hand. "It seems they bled it dry. This demands justice." The booming voice let Dean turn to the angel for the second time. Michael's eyes blazed furiously whilst a bluish-silver shimmer started to surround him. Hair and clothing already floated in some unseen current when Merlice gripped him by the shoulders. "I can understand you being upset about that, but blind rage is the last thing we want in our enemy's territory." "How could you understand? Your purity is tainted." Michael spat the words into his brother's face, who showed a bitter smile before answering sincerely. "That is definitely true, but I still remember living in heaven. And I remember the bloodshed of the rebellion." Something in Merlice's face must have calmed Michael down, for his wrath suddenly ceased. "Brother, I didn't mean to. I know." Anger is no easy thing to deal with. Merlice was about to turn away in what seemed to be a gesture of closing himself off. Michael's words had wounded him deeply, even if he tried to conceal it. Yet before he could do that, Michael reached for his brother's shoulder. "Please, Lucifer, bear with me. I'm trying to make things right." Silence followed when Dean's friend searched for the right words. "I understand. I'll try." Dean felt his head starting to hurt as his legs lost the ability to support his weight. Like a response to his sudden weakness, the magical bonds keeping the elemental in his service faded, causing the tiger to dissolve. "Dean," Merlice came to help him up. "I'm not feeling very good. What is happening?" "The seraphim's purity must be too much for you. Even in death, when too long in its presence, humans fare badly. Struggling to his feet, Dean followed the devil's guiding steps out of the room and into another. This one was the perfect contrast to the one containing the dark sacrifice. White flames bathed their surroundings in a white light, close to what one imagined when thinking about heaven. The atmosphere, too, was a lot lighter, and Dean slowly managed to stand on his own. The room was full of small cells. Symbols he hadn't seen in any book before covered the walls and the cell's bars, of which all but one were vacated. Michael was the first to go closer. Merlice followed reluctantly. Gabriel? Michael, what are you doing here? It's dangerous. I'll take you home. You can't. They are using magic powerful enough to bind even the highest of us. What are you talking about? I am talking about the kind of magic only angels should know. Peeking into the cell, Dean saw an angel with dark red-brown long hair and blue robes, covered in golden signs on the long sleeves. The brass-colored eyes fixed Merlice at once when Gabriel noticed them. What's the rebel doing here? Taking a stroll through Angel Zoo, Merlice replied with the usual smugness. Michael, I know you have faith in him, but he is not an option, says the one behind bars. Seeing his plan of ignoring the rebel fail, Gabriel turned back to Merlice. The glint of hatred was not subtle in the eyes of the messenger angel. I see you have a mortal following you around. Dragging others into your mess once again? He accused the devil, who refused to answer, but that only encouraged the other angel to assault him further. How many fell because they followed you? Brother, please. Michael spoke gently in an attempt to calm Gabriel, but his imploring words were brushed off. No, I want to hear it from him. 54,687. Merlice finally answered with a faint note of defeat. But let's not forget who smote us. Father had every right after you rebelled. I dared to ask questions. I refused to follow blindly. What is so wrong about that? Rebellion itself is never wrong. Another voice answered them from the entrance of the room, carrying an ancient note. Johnson was standing next to the robed and hooded figure that had spoken. Dean knew at once that something was about to go terribly wrong for them. Johnson, not just a fanatic but a backstabber too, Merlice remarked in a cocky undertone. Johnson delivered me 2 excellent sacrifices. Dean wasn't sure if he should feel awe or dread. The strange voice stirred something deep inside of him that he simply didn't understand. Still, the confident grin on Johnson's face froze when the robed figure spoke again. I can't allow a traitor in my lines, even if he didn't betray me. Yet. Too fast for anyone to react, the owner of the voice drew a revolver and pulled the trigger. Like a sandsack, Johnson collapsed after receiving the hole in his head. The figure tucked away the gun without showing any remorse. The smooth gesture did in fact suggest that he was shooting people on a daily basis. Pointing at Dean, he spoke again. You are no angel. Reaching beneath his robes again caused Dean's heartbeat to quicken. The occultist swiftly drew a summoning circle on the ground. Upon using it, however, nothing happened. The man blocking the way to freedom only chuckled in a slightly unsettling way. There's no magic here, my boy. But the elemental did enter with me. And yet you couldn't keep it in your service. The only magic here, the figure motioned at the walls surrounding them, is mine. In here? I am God. Dean put his hand to the wall next to him, but the spark of magic residing in every realm was absent. The gaping emptiness made him shudder once again. His gift was useless if there was no magic to respond to his call. It needed a spark of magic in one's soul for a human to access it, but it needed magic in the world to be accessible. Their roped host had disrupted that natural system the occult was built on. He had taken away the essence or somehow influenced it to only obey his will. I don't assume you will let us go by us asking nicely. Marolai stated plainly. Michael only shot him a glance that might have meant not helping. What? Devil only shrugged. It's worth a try. You are quite the jester, Lucifer. Wouldn't have expected that to be your coping mechanism. Everyone needs a hobby, although yours is quite despicable. Again, the figure laughed in what seemed to be sincere amusement. It pains me to sacrifice you. I could use someone to lighten the mood now and then. Are you sure you turned your back on the defined path you followed for so long? I'm afraid so. How can you speak nonchalantly when behind you lies the corpse of a seraphim? Michael interrupted the friendly chatter. I don't think the dead would want us to be sad. Unfolding his wings together with his anger, Michael took the man by the robe. I will send you straight to the afterlife, where we will judge your sins, and then I will send you straight to hell. Now that should be interesting. The man, still hiding his upper face in the hood, only smiled, not in the slightest afraid or concerned for his life. In the blink of an eye, their captor disappeared, turning into scrolls of papyrus. It's decoy, the angel gasped. Michael had no time to react as the papyrus, containing the same strange symbols of the walls around, glowing in a white-orange light, attacked him. Like the sticky threads of a spiderweb, it restrained the angel's movements. Not Marolai's blade nor their efforts to rip it apart harmed the papyrus. On the contrary, the trap targeted the devil as well once it noticed his presence. Lucifer, you have to get out of here. Don't be a fool, brother. The fallen angel shot back as he dodged another thread of papyrus. Using his lighter, Marolai set fire to the magically animated object. To Dean's amazement, the spell slackened enough for them to free Michael. This isn't ordinary fire, is it? He asked as he had shaken off the papyri bonds. It's hellfire. Looks like our host didn't include that possibility in his equation. You could have burned me. You're a fine brother. Come, we should hurry. What about Gabriel? We can't just leave him, can't we? Go, Micah, Gabriel called from his cell. They will come for you if you don't go now. I will come back for you, brother, I promise, Micah replied before they made for the exit. Back in the long hallway, the robed figure appeared once again. Snapping his fingers, he imprisoned Michael in a cylinder of gold-brown light, similar to the one Father Johnson had summoned years back in the Vatican's archive. The unexpected trap made them stop in their tracks. Dean could feel the dread in Marolai's bearing that infected him as well. Magic itself was their enemy in this realm. Michael wasted no time once he realized something which had escaped Dean's notice. Lucifer, go!